Hey everyone, I hope everyone is staying safe during these difficult times. My name is Mayank and I'm representing Purdue University and I'm happy to be a part of this workshop. Today, I am honored to present a research titled A Supervised Learning Approach for Robust Health Monitoring Using Face Videos. Currently, I work for Apple and I conducted this research while I was a graduate student at Purdue University. The research was made possible with the contributions of another student, Lingjung Chen, who currently works for LinkedIn, and two professors from Purdue University, Professor Denny Yu and Professor Vaneet Agrawal. So let's get started. In today's talk, I would like to briefly touch on all of these items. I would like to introduce the problem, we'll let everybody know about the related work in the field, and then we'll emphasize on what we did, and then we'll provide the summary of the talk. So let's get started with the introduction first. Every human strives for better health, as better health is central to human happiness and well-being. I'm pretty sure all of you see health freaks around you all the time. And I also believe that health is an important aspect, as it not only contributes to the quality of one's life, but also contributes to the economic progress of the country. We have seen a great example during COVID-19 pandemic that how bad health can deteriorate the world's economy. Don't go by the stock market though, which is at its peak. A graph here shows how much expenditure is being increased towards human health. The percentage of GDP contribution towards health is climbing up every year. I don't have numbers from 2020 here yet, but I'm pretty sure it will be an exponential increase since 2015. Talking of the human health, heart failure has been identified as an important issue that needs attention because of its high prevalence and cost of care. On an average, heart failure costs an estimated amount of $30.7 billion every year, which includes direct and indirect cost. Direct cost of healthcare services and indirect cost of missed days of work that impacts the economy. A research from Center for Disease Control and Prevention shows that heart disease is the lead cause for the total deaths in US in 2015. Focusing on cardiovascular diseases, one of the reports from American Heart Association mentioned that by 2035, nearly half of the US population will have some form of cardiovascular disease. In 2016, CVD cost America around $555 billion that will skyrocket to $1.1 trillion by 2035. There are some other facts that I want to state from the same report. The graph on the left shows how prevalent cardiovascular diseases are in different age groups in the US. The graph on the right did some extrapolation and projected how the number of CVD cases will increase in male and female from 2015 to 2035. All men out there, be watchful of CVDs. Having understood the impacts and intensity of the CVDs, the next thing is measuring human health. Regular monitoring of these attributes is important to track one's fitness level and provide early warnings or signs for heart diseases, and hence can help reduce the cost associated with it. There are two important health parameters that can be used to monitor human health are pulse rate and variation in pulse rate. Pulse rate is defined as the number of times per unit time that the arteries expand and contract in response to the human heart. For a normal adult, pulse rate is in the range of 50 to 90 beats per minute, while pulse rate of 40 to 50 beats per minute is normal during sleep time. Any abnormalities in heart is considered as a key factor for heart disease and hence the heart failure. Another important health attribute is the variation in pulse rate, which is a physiological phenomenon of variation in time interval between heartbeats. This metric is considered as the non-invasive technique for measuring autonomic nervous system activity. There are two components associated with the variation in pulse rate. One is the low frequency component that is affected by the fight or flight activities, and the other is high frequency component, which is affected by the parasympathetic activities like rest and digest. Currently, there are several methods of measuring the health attributes that I've been talking about. The oldest and the most traditional method used in hospitals is the ECG machine shown in the figure here. Pulse oximeter is another equipment which is cheap and small, and most people keep it at home as well. Here is an example of the pulse oximeter that can be clipped onto the fingers. And on this slide, I have an example of an oximeter that can be clipped onto the earlobe. I'm referring to the image on the right. Another new and trending method is the Apple Watch. I like this product, not because I work there, but it's actually good. These devices all work by extracting the PPG signal that is further used to estimate the pulse rate. These devices consist of a light emitter and a photodetector that detects the change in volume of blood that flows through arteries during each beat of the heart and uses this to extract important health information. There are some disadvantages of the methods that we have been using. First, all these methods are contact-based methods. They require us to purchase a piece of equipment, and sometimes you just don't feel like carrying it with you all the times, at all the places. Sometimes pulse oximeters don't really fit well as well on fingers and on earlobes. Just think of the small, like the newborn babies, where these devices might not fit well, and it will be really hard for us to monitor their health regularly. The method that we propose here in this research is a non-contact device-free method that uses computer vision and machine learning to predict human health attributes. The overall methodology is capture a video, do some magic tricks in video processing, extract the right features, and train a model that can be used for predictions. Sounds simple, right? But took some hard work to give us some good results. There are some related works in the field that I want to quickly highlight. All these works mainly proved that the PPG signal can be extracted just by the facial videos itself. So for example, Humphreys and others showed the possibility to extract the PPG signal from the video by using CMOS camera by eliminating a skin using external LEDs. As the research progressed, the other authors demonstrated that PPG signal can be estimated by just using ambient light as source of illumination, where you don't need any additional sources of illumination, and it can be done with a simple digital camera. Poe and others proved the possibility of using low-cost webcam without the loss of accuracy as well. And further, Kumar and others provided the methodology that overcomes the challenges in extracting PPG signal for the people with dark skin tones. So in all this work, it's essentially taking the videos, doing some signal processing, and after the signal processing has been done, extract the PPG signal and then estimate the parameters like other devices does. The method that we are proposing has some advantages. For example, it is non-contact. Cameras are present everywhere, that makes it scalable as well. And think of babies, like with baby cameras, you can monitor their health at all time without irritating them. And one of the main difference is we are using machine learning as our approach to predict these health parameters. Hence, we provide one model for all. Some of our key contributions towards the research are: we designed an experiment to collect the data for the research. Our method uses machine learning in predicting human health parameters, and our proposed approach has lower error in predictions compared to other non-machine learning based methods. For data collection, we designed an experiment where 20 participants volunteered. The devices used to collect the data includes a webcam and a shimmer, which is basically a pulse oximeter. This experiment was conducted at Purdue campus following all the IRB protocols. Briefly discussing the experiment, 3 different activities were designed in our experiment. Each participant was asked to perform these activities one by one with some rest in between. The 3 activities were rest, brisk walk, and intense exercise. After performing each activity, each participant was asked to sit still in front of the web camera as shown in the image and wear a pulse oximeter to record the data. For intense exercise, each participant was asked to perform either push-ups or sit-ups so as to exert themselves. The idea for these exercises or these three activity levels was to include the variation in the health parameters in our data set. The average heart rate at each activity level is given here, with the heart rate in the rest condition being the lowest and the heart rate in the intense exercise being the highest. Here comes our methodology. It mainly consists of three steps: video processing, feature extraction, and model training. The first step is video processing, where we used a deep face algorithm that is the current state of the art. This algorithm helps in face recognition during the entire length of the video. This algorithm utilizes 68 landmark points to detect the faces in each frame of the video. After getting the face detected, we crop out any additional areas that are not needed for model training. We also downsize the image to 20 by 20 so as to reduce the dimensions in the model training. The next step was feature extraction. Selecting right set of features is really important as it helps us in simplification of the model and also avoid the curse of dimensionality. For the problem in hand, we extracted pixel intensity values in the green channel, and this set of features is denoted by a set T0. And the example of the downsized image, which is 20 by 20, is also shown on the slide. The last part is the model training. Our choice of model was a multi-layered neural network. We chose the model with 3 hidden layers and 1 output neuron. We had a regression problem in hand where the optimized parameters for our model are listed here. The architecture of the network is shown in the slide as well. Let's quickly take a look at our results now. For our model validation, we used leave one out as our cross-validation method. So as to make our model robust and to gauge error, we use two matrices. One is mean absolute percentage error and the other is root mean squared error. The graph below on the left shows the behavior of the test and train loss over a number of iterations during model training. The graph on the right shows the scatter plot between the actual and the predicted value for the pulse rate. The MAPE and RMSE for predicting pulse rate is 4.6% and 4.39, which is pretty good compared to the existing work in the field. The next slide talks about the results for the low frequency component of variation in pulse rate. Here again, we beat some of the existing works where MAPE and RMSE is 4.5% and 3.5 respectively. Similarly, for high frequency component, the MAPE and RMSE is around 10.2% and 4.96. So let's summarize what we have seen until now. So this research proposed a computer vision based non-contact and device-free method for estimating the health attributes, for example, pulse rate and variation in pulse rate. This also provides a future methodology that can be adapted at home, offices, or shop floors with potential scalability. And in the end, with such technique, we can have regular and non-invasive monitoring that can lead to potential dollar savings. So that's all I had for today, guys. Thank you so much.